All right. We should be up and running here any minute. Yeah, we should be good to go here. All right, market closed about 3 minutes ago. All right, we'll be going over the market and also going over today's trades. Let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for September 16th, 2021. Q's basically flat on the day. SPY down 0.17, and then IWM basically flat. So even though these numbers, just based on the closing percentage versus yesterday's close, doesn't really seem all that significant, what did happen today is what we talked about would be kind of the easiest scenario to read and give us the most clarity as far as what bias to have as early as possible, right? Because I said that probably the hardest scenario is if we gap up and then we just start moving up at the open. And what would be the easiest at the open, here's yesterday's bar, what would be the easiest for me is if we either sell off right at the open or gap down, okay? Because then we'll get to see what, if we're going to retest the lows or not, what the selling is going to look like. And then if we get back over today's high, then we're back to bullish, okay? And so that's what we did right at the open. We got sold, so that made it easy, okay? So over yesterday's high, no longer bearish. We're just going to transition back to bullish, okay? So on any kind of pullback, we stay above the 20 MA, bullish on the Qs and SPY. Daily buy setup has already triggered on the Qs. There's the daily buy setup. There it is on the IWM. And then the SPY didn't quite clear. So the SPY is a little bit more in neutral territory still. Didn't quite clear, but definitely less bearish. Okay, so that's what I wanted to see. Is if we are going to move back higher because the larger time frames are still bullish, is this hourly downtrend going to end? And are we going to produce a higher low now and then follow it with a higher high? For the Qs and the IWM, they did already. Okay, so these are IWM, Qs are back to bullish now. Okay, SPY is a little bit more neutral, but I expect it will follow. Okay, so what would have to happen for us to turn back to bearish? If we get back underneath today's low, okay, then basically negate this attempt to move up, and then shortly I would expect us to fail on this buy setup on the Qs and the IWM, okay, to fail on this bullish pattern. It's a bullish pattern on the Qs, the SPY, and the IWM, okay, on the daily. And it's remained bullish on the daily. You know, when we were up here extended, we were also talking about we have room to pull back and still be bullish. And so we did get that pullback, I guess, really slight, really sloppy, but we got it, okay, on the Qs and the SPY. So bullish going into tomorrow. All right, the hourly did exactly what we outlined for it to do in order for us to no longer be bearish. And now we are looking at the next buy setup, the next breakout as bullish, okay? All right, so I thought we were pretty prepared for today and gave us a little bit of an easier one to read. Now, today, though, I thought that I had a lot of kind of adjustments to make, okay? Coming out of yesterday, I thought, okay, maybe there's a lot more to scalp coming into today, and that was going to be my focus. Actually, the first thing I was thinking might be a potential scalp was the TUEM. And now it's moving up to 240. Okay, doesn't matter though. After the close, doesn't count. Okay, so the TUEM I thought might be playable as a scalp. It's a $2 stock, but ended up being a little bit too thin on the TUEM. And this thing just would not go. When I tried it in the morning, tried it here, popped, came right back in. I gave up on it, killed it early. You can see it never actually stopped. And then I played it again as I was taking out the high here, kind of like a 1, 2, 3, but I put the stop down here, and then it popped and immediately started to come in, so I killed it again. So I think all in all, I think I lost together for these is like a little more than like half an hour on something that it just didn't want to go. And after that, I decided I'm just not going to get involved anymore on the TUEM. And then, yeah, I guess it just isn't really making the move until now in the post market here. So yeah, I just never really got going on this, and that's fine. I didn't trade it very well. But my expectation really this morning was I wanted to focus on the scalps, and I really couldn't find any. There were some later in the day, but yeah, couldn't really find any. Now, I totally missed this AERI. So the AERI, this gap down is really, really nice. Gapping underneath the base. I had it on a chart. It was a little bit spready. I think that was part of the reason, kind of didn't look that closely into it, but that was pretty good. AERI. I think this base is fine here to play. And then if you want to kind of put all of that together and do it this way, even if you miss like the first trigger, you can do it that way too. That would have been fine as well. So there's an entry here on the AERI. I just totally didn't catch it. I think it was probably because I was focusing on the scalps and trying to look at the TUEM. So, you know, kind of what I came out with at the open, what the game plan was, just wasn't really panning out. Just because they weren't, you know, showing up. It's, and some mornings are like that. You have your favorite gaps, and then the favorite gaps don't set up. They don't give you an entry. Maybe they don't follow through. Maybe they don't do anything. So after that, kind of, you know, tried to kind of regroup. I noticed the scalps weren't really setting up. Okay, we went back through the gaps. I think I had here's the short list of the gaps that I wanted to get involved in. Was the AERI, the GWB, the IO, the LPTX, and the TUEM. So that was like the short list. Those are the ones that I have kind of ranked the best. Those are the priority. So those were tier 2. These are basically in between tier 2, tier 3. So those were the ones. So that's where was the focus. So I moved on. GWB got sold right away. LPTX also broke out and failed. And then the TUEM, of course, was not going anywhere. AERI already missed. So that really only left the IO. So then, you know, kind of regrouped, looked at what I knew were the favorites, what had the kind of nicest daily charts. And then went after the IO. So this ended up being pretty good. Played it with a 10-cent stop. It was 280 by 270. Okay, and then reached 3 Rs here. If you're in the room, you know 3 to 4 Rs has been the sweet spot. Once we cross that 3 Rs, I'm really looking to be out most or all of the play. Now on this one, I did try to see if we were going to get a pullback or some kind of maybe retest when we were here. So I did hold a quarter of this after the move up. So I did try to hold a quarter. I was waiting for some kind of pivot. We didn't really get it until here. I think actually, yeah, right here. Finally got the pivot. This stop is actually break even. So the last quarter didn't make anything. Probably, I would say not the like wisest thing to have done because, you know, my target was 220. I was looking for 220. We already got to 212. Doesn't really make sense to, and my stop was still at 170. Doesn't really make sense to try to make, you know, 10 more cents and be willing to give away 40 cents, right? Reward to risk doesn't make sense anymore. But yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted to be a part of just in case we had one more move. But this is pretty climactic. Actually worked really well as a climactic. But yeah, that went climactic for sure. I just wanted to see if it maybe had one more move, but it didn't. And so it was still a nice play. But yeah, management could have been a little bit better, but that's usually the case. I don't expect ever to just, you know, buy at the bottom, sell at the high, and vice versa. So, so I think that was fine on the IO. Glad that worked. Just had to kind of regroup. It was kind of the game plan for the morning. Kind of started off, you know, going through the gaps, rating and ranking them. They thought they were okay. Some were just a little bit thin. Was hoping the scalps would show up at the open. They didn't. And then had to kind of regroup and then refocus. And so that was kind of the story of the day. The afternoon, I didn't really see too much. Market kind of rallied nicely. So a lot of things got a little bit bought, but I didn't really see a lot of good longs to play with the market this afternoon personally. So ended up being nothing to do really this afternoon. Okay, there were a little bit of scalps here and there. I think NGL was okay. I mentioned this one, but for the most part, yeah, they weren't as good as I thought they would be today. It was right here. It said over 205. Just stop is 1 penny. All right, guys. That's gonna do it for today's market wrap. Hope you did well today. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Have a good evening.